Thursday Night Football, we've got the Packers taking on the Lions, and we're about to break down all of it right here, looking at the best plays for both FanDuel and DraftKings for the showdown and single game contest. So as you guys are watching this video, if you could do me a favor, like, subscribe, follow wherever you're watching, whether it be on YouTube or Twitter. I do appreciate it. It helps out a whole bunch. And if you want to sign up for our football package, which includes everything that I'm about to go over that's here on screen, sign up using the link below. It comes with a contest generator. It comes with the Sims tool. It comes with our player projections. It comes with our ownership projections. Let's look at the best lineups right now. I've already built out lineups in the contest generator for DraftKings. I've also simulated them in the pre-contest simulator, and then we'll do this on the same video for FanDuel after we cover DraftKings here. But first things first, favorite the top 150 lineups sorted by ROI in the Sims here. And the number one overall projected lineup, which does have a little bit of a gap in between the number one and number two lineup, it is Jordan Love, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, so double running backs here, and then Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave, and then Riley Patterson here. So we've got a 5-1 onslaught stack here for the Packers that is projected as the top lineup here. And yeah, just kind of scrolling through to see if there's anything in particular that sticks out about my top lineups. Not too much, other than not many of the lineups at the top here are projected to be duped, which we find that a lot on some of these showdowns. If we look at the lineups that are duped most frequently, yeah, none of the lineups that are projected to be heavily duped land in my top 150 lineups, which is also certainly going to be the case because number one, just obviously dupes, less ideal, but then also contest pays out really top heavy on DraftKings today. And I do have the payout structure as such here when I selected it, a 30% payout to first place. So if we look at the lineups that are expected to have the most dupes, there's three here that are popping up as being lineups that are expected to field to play pretty heavily today. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Anders Carlson, David Montgomery, Jared Goff, Josh Reynolds, the Lions defense. As of the time that I'm recording, David Montgomery is officially listed as questionable, but reports have indicated that he's more likely to play than to sit. If he ends up getting ruled out, that would make a big difference, obviously, in terms of him not being in play anymore, but also Jahmyr Gibbs would look a lot better in that situation. Other lineups that are expected to be due pretty heavily here: Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Carlson, Josh Reynolds, Lions, and Sam Laporta. And then here, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Carlson, Montgomery, Goff, and the Lions defense. So it does look like Carlson is going to be a pretty popular value play, or at the very least in a lot of the lineups that are expected to be duped here. But let's go and look at the exposures now from the top 150 lineups and get into a lot of the quarterbacks. Jared Goff and Jordan Love, my two most exposed players in the flex spot, overweight to each of them individually. And then if you look down here, most rostered captain for tonight is Jordan Love. So Jordan Love overall winding up in, what is this, 76.6% of lineups. And then Jared Goff, let's see if he's the second most rostered captain. No, that's actually Amon-Ra St. Brown. So not getting quite as much of Goff in the captain spot here, 11%. So still a little bit overweight to the field, but either way, we've got nearly 80% of exposure to Jordan Love, and then north of 60% here of Jared Goff. So loading up on the QBs for sure. And then Jaden Reed here, kind of surprising that he's not projected for all that much ownership. We are coming in well overweight to the field on him, only projected for 22.5% ownership, which for a top wide receiver, fairly low mark for a showdown contest. So getting well overweight to the field on him. Christian Watson is expected to play today, but only on limited snap counts, which is going to make it fairly difficult for me to prioritize getting to him. But it does look like that the just idea that Christian Watson is going to play is lowering the ownership of Jaden Reed, when he's only projected for 22.5%. So pretty overweight to him. He's likely going to be, when we sort by leverage, one of the players that we're most overweight to here. Coming a little bit underweight to the field on David Montgomery. Talk about Anders Carlson. And yeah, you can see here that he is for sure one of the most popular value plays on the entire slate. Carlson only projected, is projected for 20.1% ownership here. And he was in some of my, not some of my top projected lineups, but in some of the most duped lineups. So if you look here, yeah, Carlson in all three of those lineups that are expected to be really heavily duped. So that is the value play that the field is going to tonight, is Anders Carlson. And then if we're looking at some of the other players we're getting to here, Riley Patterson, getting overweight to him also as a value play from the Lions side of the game. And let's see, anything else that really stands out. Talked about Jordan Love being the most rostered captain that we're getting to here. See if there's any really low-owned plays that are popping up meaningfully for us at all. Marvin Jones Jr., if you're looking for a dart throw in the flex spot that's going to be really low-owned, Marvin Jones only projected for 5% ownership and did end up with him in 13.3% of my top projected lineups. Underweight to, who are we underweight to here? Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, we're only getting in 4% of lineups. Christian Watson, talked about how difficult it's going to be for me to want to get to him, considering that he's expected to play limited snaps. So, yeah, makes sense. Underweight to the field on Christian Watson, coming underweight to the field on Josh Reynolds, and then Lions defense also, we're underweight to. Hopefully, one of these slates where it's not like the defense is going out and crushing or anything like that. So that is going to cover DraftKings. But now let's build lineups for FanDuel and see what's standing out there. By the way, also, for DraftKings, we have all of the showdown slates in the contest generator now. So if you're playing one of those slates on Sunday where all the individual games are there for showdown, we have all of them included now. Let's look at FanDuel and here, build out the lineups for FanDuel. And while this is being built, let's also look up the payout structure for the big contest on FanDuel. So when these lineups are built and we sim them, we know what percentage to put onto first. Big contest is a $1 million prize pool on FanDuel, paying out $200K to first place. That is going to be 20% to first. So big contest on FanDuel, not nearly as top heavy as the big contest on DraftKings, which we've actually seen a lot in showdown contests as of late. Where FanDuel less top heavy, DraftKings more top heavy. A little bit annoying with the way that FanDuel is structured, just because it's really hard to create unique lineups. So I would kind of prefer it to be a little bit more top heavy, where it does favor the uniqueness a little bit more, but not the case over on FanDuel. But let's see what we're getting to. And I know that some of the top projected, or some of the top dupe lineups are going to be duped much more heavily on FanDuel than on DraftKings. So let's see what looks different about the two. I presume that it's still going to be not a lot of Christian Watson in our lineups. Don't think we're going to be getting to him. I do think we're probably going to be getting to the kickers from both teams because they were showing up on DraftKings, but just a guess. Kind of like a dumb game I play with myself while I'm running the sims after building the lineup, just try to guess which players I think I'm going to end up getting to. Top projected lineup for FanDuel is a double QB, so Jordan Love in the MVP spot, then Jared Goff, Anders Carlson, Jaden Reed, and then Romeo Doubs. And then let's see if the duped lineups, none of the heavily duped lineups are making it into our top 150 here. This lineup is expected to be played just a ton by the field. So in that set of lineups I built, this is the one that's been duped the most by a mile out of all the FanDuel and DraftKings lineups. It is Jared Goff in the MVP spot with Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Anders Carlson. Anders Carlson finding himself in every single heavily duped lineup in both FanDuel and DraftKings, it seems like. Let's look at the exposures in our top lineups. And getting to a good amount of Jared Goff at the captain. He is by far most roster, I should say MVP. Most rostered MVP for us on FanDuel. He's projected for 11% ownership. Got to him in 40.7% of the lineups. He's in the MVP and 31.3% for Jordan Love. So quarterbacks making up nearly 3/4 of our MVP play over on FanDuel and top lineups. Who else, though? A little bit of Amon-Ra St. Brown, a little bit of Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones missed last week, is expected to play this week. So a little bit more of split carries I would expect it to be between him and A.J. Dillon. And then actually one lineup here or two lineups with Christian Watson. But for the most part, it's just the quarterbacks we're getting to as the MVPs over on FanDuel. And then some of the other options that we're getting to. Luke Musgrave, Sam Laporta. Interesting, we're underweight to the field on Sam Laporta on DraftKings, but price point a little bit more favorable on FanDuel. So both the tight ends we're getting to here. Overweight to the field on Musgrave, overweight to the field on Laporta. As far as the running backs go for Detroit, we're getting to 32.7% of David Montgomery. So Jahmyr Gibbs then must be underweight to the well underweight to the field on Jahmyr Gibbs. Only 13.3% of lineups here with Gibbs. So based on the data here, which running back do we prefer from the Lions today? David Montgomery over Jahmyr Gibbs in our projections. It's hard to really know what to make of Jahmyr Gibbs to this point because we heard, all this talk from Dan Campbell and the Lions front office. They're like, hey, you guys haven't seen anything like what we're going to be doing with Jahmyr Gibbs. They used a lot of draft capital on him. They hinted they're going to use him in all kind of unique and creative ways. And now he just hardly plays for them. And he looks really good and explosive when he's on the field, but they're so cautious with his workload. So it's really hard to know what to make of that. Other players that we're getting to, yeah, Anders Carlson projected for 23% ownership, getting to him in 28% of lineup. So a little bit overweight to the field on Carlson, and then Patterson as well, getting to slightly overweight to the field, but still 20.8% and 23.2% for Carlson and Patterson as far as what the field is projected, and slightly overweight to each of them. As far as the running back situation goes for Green Bay, getting to 24.7% of Aaron Jones. And where is A.J. Dillon? Let's see. A.J. Dillon getting to in 24.7%. So he must have been there and I just can't read, so I missed them. A lot of times these videos for me, it's an experiment of me taking on my eyesight and seeing what I could see. It's on the screen. Yeah. Not only did I miss A.J. Dillon, he's right next to Aaron Jones, and we're getting to him the exact same amount of lineups. I just can't see. 24.7% of each of them. So dead split in terms of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. We have no real lean between them over on FanDuel. Players were coming in underweight to the field too. Probably not fair to say we're underweight to the field on Jordan Love or Jared Goff, just because we're getting so overweight to them in the MVP spot. So less of them in the flex spot, more of them in the MVP. Underweight to Josh Reynolds, same as the case as we had on DraftKings. And then Jahmyr Gibbs coming in underweight to him in a pretty substantial way as well. Overweight to David Montgomery in the flex spot, but underweight to him in the captain spot. And then who we're overweight to here is Goff and Love as MVP plays. And then overweight to the field on Musgrave in the flex, Montgomery in the flex, then Khalif Raymond, getting to some of him as a really contrarian option, only projected for 6% ownership. So that's somebody who, if you want to differentiate a FanDuel lineup, leave salary on the table or play somebody like a Khalif Raymond, or David Montgomery also only projected for 10% ownership today. He looks like a pretty good leverage play off of Jahmyr Gibbs. So that is going to do it for us today. If you haven't done yet, do me a big favor, like, subscribe wherever you're watching this, whether it be on YouTube or on my Twitter. I really do appreciate the support. And if you want to sign up for our NFL package, get access to all of these data and tools and much, much more. We've got stuff for the main slate. We've got our boom bust tool, top stacks tool. Check all that out. Good luck with the game tonight, guys. Hope one of us takes down a big contest. See you back here next week.